The call came on a Tuesday at 9:47 a.m. I was reviewing third-quarter projections when my phone lit up. Wells Fargo Fraud Prevention Department. Ms. Chen? This is Robert Martinez from Wells Fargo Special Investigations Unit. We need to discuss a refinance application on the property at 1847 Lakeshore Drive. Are you aware your parents initiated a $340,000 cash-out refinance on this property? My coffee cup stopped halfway to my lips. That's impossible. That's my lake house. I'm the sole owner. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly why I'm calling. The lake house. My sanctuary. The property I'd purchased in 2016 with my first major bonus when I was 28 years old. My parents had called it a waste of money on a fixer-upper nobody wants. I'd spent 8 years restoring it. New roof, updated plumbing, refinished original hardwood floors, rebuilt the dock. Every weekend. Every vacation day. My money. My name on the deed. And apparently my parents' newest ATM. They represented themselves as co-owners to our loan officer, Martinez continued, his voice carrying that particular flatness of someone who's investigated fraud before. Claimed you were the daughter living there rent-free. Said the property was purchased with family money in 2016 and all family members had equal ownership rights. I pulled up my property records. There it was crystal clear. Melissa Chen, sole owner. Purchased April 12, 2016. No liens. No co-owners. No ambiguity whatsoever. They forged documents, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. That's what we're investigating. They provided what appeared to be a quitclaim deed showing joint ownership transfer. Our initial processor approved it. But our underwriter ran the full title search yesterday afternoon. The walls felt closer suddenly. How far along is this? They received preliminary approval last week. The $340,000 was scheduled to fund this Friday. Based on their bank activity we can see, they've already spent approximately $45,000. $28,000 deposit to a kitchen contractor, $12,400 for Viking appliances, and what appears to be a $15,600 boat purchase. I thought about every time they'd asked to borrow the house for long weekends. Every time Mom had said, it's basically the family lake house anyway, right? Every time Dad had complained I was selfish for not giving them spare keys. Every time they'd shown up unannounced with friends playing host. They weren't borrowing. They were claiming ownership. What happens now? I asked. We've frozen the application and contacted law enforcement. I need you to come to our branch tomorrow with your original deed and identification. We'll need a formal statement. And Ms. Chen? You should retain legal counsel today. I have a theory about family betrayal. It's never the single lie that destroys you. It's the infrastructure they built around it over months or years. The small deceptions that made the big one feel inevitable. My parents had been building that infrastructure for 8 years. I started excavating. Every text message where Mom casually mentioned our lake house to relatives. Every family gathering where Dad told cousins, we bought this place together as an investment. Every time they brought guests without asking, treating my property like their vacation rental. The forged quitclaim deed was dated March 2019. They'd backdated it 3 years, creating a paper trail suggesting I'd voluntarily signed over partial ownership. The notary stamp looked legitimate. The signature looked almost like mine. I called the notary public whose stamp appeared on the document. She answered on the second ring. I never notarized anything for anyone named Chen, she said, her voice tight with anger. My official stamp was stolen from my vehicle in August 2022. I reported it to the Secretary of State's office immediately and filed a police report. Criminal forgery. Notary fraud. Federal loan fraud. Identity theft. The charges were accumulating like interest. The confrontation happened at Wells Fargo's main branch Thursday morning at 10 a.m. I hadn't warned them I knew. Martinez suggested my presence might encourage honest responses. They walked in exactly on time, dressed like they were closing on a dream home. Dad in his country club golf polo, Mom wearing the pearl necklace she reserved for important occasions. They saw me sitting beside the loan officer and stopped cold. Melissa? What are you doing here? Mom's voice climbed half an octave, landing somewhere between confusion and panic. Miss Chen is here because she is the sole legal owner of 1847 Lakeshore Drive, Martinez said calmly, stepping into the doorway behind them. The property you attempted to refinance for $340,000 3 weeks ago. I watched my father's jaw tighten, that microscopic tell when he's been caught but hasn't selected his defense strategy yet. There's been a terrible misunderstanding, Dad started, his voice taking on that reasonable tone he used when lying. Melissa knows perfectly well we all own. I bought that house in April 2016 with my performance bonus, I interrupted quietly. You told me I was throwing away money on a property nobody wanted. You have never contributed a single dollar toward purchase, renovation, taxes, or maintenance. My name is the only name on the deed. It has been that way for 8 years, 4 months, and 12 days. Martinez slid the forged quitclaim deed across the polished conference table. Can you explain this document dated March 2019 showing Ms. Chen signing over partial ownership to you both? Mom's hand flew to her throat, fingers touching her pearls. We thought, it was understood, family property is shared. The notary stamp on this document was reported stolen in August 2022, Martinez continued, consulting his tablet. The signature doesn't match Ms. Chen's actual signature on file with our institution. And most critically, the county recorder's office has absolutely no record of this deed ever being properly filed. You forged it, I said, and something in my chest loosened saying it out loud. You created a fraudulent deed using a stolen notary stamp. You lied to a federally regulated lending institution. You committed bank fraud. The silence was absolute. Through the glass conference room walls, I could see other bank employees pretending not to watch. Dad pivoted to outrage, his fallback position. How dare you accuse your own parents of? You've already spent $45,000 of the fraudulently obtained funds, Martinez interrupted, his tone unchanged. Kitchen contractor deposit, $28,000. Viking appliance suite, $12,400. Boat purchase at Lakeshore Marine, $15,600. All spent on a loan obtained through forged documentation. Mom started crying, not the genuine kind, but the theatrical performance she'd perfected during my childhood whenever consequences appeared. We desperately needed that money, she sobbed into her hands. Your father's consulting business is failing. We thought you wouldn't mind helping your own family. By committing federal fraud using my property as collateral? I asked. You didn't ask for help. You attempted to steal my house. Martinez stood, straightening his tie. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, you're not under arrest at this moment, but I'm required to inform you that Wells Fargo is filing a formal criminal referral with the FBI for bank fraud under Title 18, United States Code, Section 1014. You need to obtain legal representation immediately. Do not leave the state of Washington. They stared at me like I'd betrayed them, like I was the criminal in this equation. The procedural unraveling took exactly 93 days. And every step delivered its own quiet satisfaction. Week 1. The FBI opened a formal investigation, case number 2024 WA 8847. My parents hired a criminal defense attorney who required a $15,000 retainer, money they borrowed from Dad's brother. They called me 17 times. I answered 0. Week 2. Wells Fargo's internal audit discovered my parents had made preliminary refinance inquiries at 2 other institutions, Chase and Bank of America, in the previous 6 months. The fraud attempt was systematic, not impulsive. Week 3. The kitchen contractor filed a breach of contract lawsuit for $110,000 in remaining costs. The appliance company sent a repossession truck for the Viking range that was already installed. Week 4. Their homeowner's insurance carrier dropped their policy when the fraud investigation became public record. Apparently, insurance companies avoid covering individuals under active FBI investigation. Month 2. Lakeshore Marine repossessed the boat and filed suit for the full purchase price plus storage fees and legal costs. My parents' credit scores collapsed to 487 and 502 respectively. Month 3. Federal prosecutors offered a plea agreement. Full restitution of $340,000 to Wells Fargo, 3 years supervised probation, permanent federal conviction on their records, ban from applying for federal loans. The alternative was trial and potential federal prison sentences of 2 to 5 years. They accepted the plea. They had no alternative. The ghost ledger I maintained wasn't about the $340,000 they tried to steal. It was about 8 years of systematic doubt. Every time Dad called the lake house our family investment at holiday dinners while I sat there silently, cost equals my confidence in my own achievement, systematically eroded. Every time Mom told relatives, we all contributed to buy it while I stood right there. Cost equals my reputation, my truth, my voice. Every time they arrived with friends unannounced playing host in my house. Cost equals my boundaries dissolved week by week until I questioned if I even had them. Every time they made me feel selfish for refusing to give them keys. Cost equals guilt I carried for being unreasonable about my own property. The real theft wasn't $340,000. It was 8 years of making me believe my success was actually their generosity on loan. I refinanced the lake house myself 7 months later through a different institution. The legitimate way. My name only, my income only, my 780 credit score. I took out $120,000 and built a writer's studio on the north side of the property. Floor-to-ceiling windows facing the water, custom walnut bookshelves, a river stone fireplace, soundproofing in the walls. My parents have never seen it. They're not invited. The restraining order I requested as part of their plea agreement makes that legally enforceable. They're repaying Wells Fargo at $2,833.33 monthly for the next 120 months. They sold their house and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a cheaper suburb. Dad's consulting business folded completely. Mom works retail at Nordstrom for the first time since 1989. Every single month that payment is due. Every month they remember what they tried to take. I spend weekends at the lake house now without looking over my shoulder. New locks on every door. Changed gate code. Security cameras covering all approaches. Last week a letter arrived from Mom. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter for 4 days before I opened it. Inside was one paragraph. We were wrong about everything. We're deeply sorry. We miss our daughter. I read it twice. Then I filed it in the folder marked Legal Evidence. Retain permanently. Some people believe forgiveness requires reconciliation. I believe forgiveness means accepting that people who hurt you did so deliberately, and choosing to build a life they cannot touch. The lake house is mine. It was always mine. Now everyone knows it. The property deed hangs framed in my home office. Right above my desk where I see it daily. One name. One owner. One unambiguous truth. They wanted to profit from my success. Instead they proved its value.